Finish him.
Welcome to Hitman Boxing. Hit that like and subscribe button. We are back. Boxing is back in full effect, and we're here to talk about Gervonta Tank Davis. Just recently read an article where Gervonta Davis has said that he wants Ryan Garcia, Lomachenko, after his Santa Cruz fight. And, of course, he's dissing Devin Haney because Devin Haney basically said that Tank goes into camp just to lose weight. And he's not wrong, but we're going to get into that shortly. So on October 24th, and it looks like PBC's using this as their new norm. They've got a pay-per-view almost every month starting in October. October 24th, Gervonta Davis is going to be fighting Leo Santa Cruz on Showtime, which, I don't know what the undercard is looking like, but it's a big fight. I mean, you got your black fighter, Tank, and you got your Mexican fighter in Leo Santa Cruz, which is a formula that Floyd Mayweather proved is successful. But does Tank have the fan base behind him to make this a successful event? Does Leo Santa Cruz have the fan base behind him? I mean, Santa Cruz got a whole country behind him. What does Tank have behind him? There's been a lot of issues with Tank and just boxing in general. We've been in a pandemic. I seen a couple of fights recently, empty arenas. It don't got the same feel, but when a nigga get knocked out, it's serious. But let's talk about Tank, right? We know he's had issues with weight in the past. If you follow him on Instagram, or rather, if you follow him on Snapchat, you'll see that he's preparing for this fight. It seems like he's kind of taking it serious. And I suspect that he's going to beat Leo Santa Cruz. I'm actually going to call for a knockout in this situation. I think he's going to knock Leo Santa Cruz out. I don't really think too highly of Santa Cruz. It is what it is. I don't like Leo Santa Cruz, all right? Not a big fan of his work. He goes in the ring twitching his wrist. It just really annoys me watching him fight. And a lot of times he's the bigger, the taller fighter. He's got the longer reach. But he likes to come in on the inside and mix it up. Like, why? Just like, I don't understand. He likes to mix things up, which, a lot of people might respect, but use your attributes to beat your opponent. Use your length, use your reach to beat your opponent instead of mixing it up. I don't see what the point is. Now, Tank is going to try to get on the inside with this guy and do some harm to him, some serious bodily harm. And I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm looking forward to seeing Leo Santa Cruz laying on his back, twitching his little wrist, wondering, man, why did I take this fight against Tank Davis? Oh, I remember why I took the fight, just so I could make him seem a little bit more legitimate than, because we all know Tank is. There's a lot of controversy around Tank. It's like your last fight was against who was his last fight against? I watched the fight. Dang, I'm sorry, y'all. Tank Davis. He fought Gamboa, Yuriokas Gamboa, right? And the first couple of rounds he was dominating that fight, and it looked like Gamboa had broke his ankle or something. But the ref told him he had to continue the fight, which was hilarious in my opinion. But, I mean, if we're looking at his last performance, it wasn't that great. And he did mention that he spent a lot of time in training camp, losing weight, getting into shape. And I think that's a big mistake that a lot of these guys make. They get into camp and they're shedding the weight as opposed to working on their craft, working on the strategy to beat their opponent, right? At least that's the way I see it. I mean, look at Errol Spence. Again, his fight against Sean Porter was very close. And in the post-fight interview, he did blame his performance on the fact that, during his training camp, he was cutting weight. And a lot of these guys are doing that. They're not natural 130-pounders, 140, 147 fighters. They don't walk around at that weight naturally, right? So, get to training camp, for example, Spence probably like 200 pounds when he come into training camp. I'm not saying that right now, but historically, he goes into training camp probably like 180, 200. He cuts all that weight, drains himself, and you get the performance he had against Sean Porter. Now, whether you want to believe what he's saying or maybe you think Sean Porter may have been better than what you thought, but what happened. But back to Tank. I think he's going to take this fight against Leo Santa Cruz serious, and he's going to do some serious harm to that boy. Now, let's talk about these other dudes, right? And we gotta read the statement from Gervonta Davis. I mean, he rarely has any quotables because I ain't even gonna make fun of the way the dude talk. I'm not even gonna get on that right now. But let's go ahead and just read his statement about Ryan Garcia. I quote, Ryan Garcia is picking up a good crowd. He's like an Oscar De La Hoya coming up. Not as big as Oscar, but he has a crowd. It's good when you have somebody who has people behind him and you know where you're trying to go. It's good to bring that together. He's a baby, but he's got potential. He needs to work with Canelo's team a little more. Gervonta Davis' statement. So, yeah, Ryan Garcia is on the come up. He is obviously under the Golden Boy banner, so he's being protected. Again, he's developing a little fan base, and that's De La Hoya's meal ticket. However, the division in which he fights in has some killers. So you can only protect that boy for so long until it's time for him to get into the ring with one of these killers. Now, Tank being he seems like he wants to fight Ryan Garcia bad, right? But the tune always changes when it comes to Lomachenko, right? Let's get into his statement about Vasiliy Lomachenko. Quote, if we get past our guys that we got ahead of us, then Lomachenko can make it rock. I think it's probably time. Definitely not this year. If not next year, then 2022. I believe at the beginning of 22, we can make it happen. Now, end quote. Now, with regard to what the delay is or why, he wants to wait so long before he fights Lomachenko, this is what he had to say. Quote, it's definitely not me. It's just politics and coming to the right agreement. End quote. That's very interesting that you said that, right? Because there's been a lot of controversy about you fighting, opponents who could potentially give you a run for your money, right? Now, we didn't want to see you fight Gamboa. We also thought that you was going to humiliate, destroy Gamboa, but that's not what happened, all right? He went 12 rounds with you with a broke leg. I think the fight went 12 rounds. I don't recall. I make these videos on the fly. Fuck a research. Now, your boy, Tank Davis, he doesn't seem too willing to want to fight Lomachenko. Even his own promoter, who has some issues with Tank, way back when, tried to feed him to Lomachenko. But the thing is, if you're saying you don't want to fight this guy until 2022, that's 2 years from now, right? I understand we're in a pandemic, but things are getting back to normal, right? You're just trying to wait till he ages. He's gonna fight Teofimo Lopez. Yeah, isn't Lopez and Lomachenko going to be fighting this year? So you want to gauge how that fight looks. I got Lomachenko beating Lopez, but I don't think it's going to be an easy fight, and I don't think that Teofimo Lopez is going to quit in that fight, as I predicted in the past. I did predict many of those fighters quitting in the past, but as far as Tank is concerned, man, he's got a lot of work he needs to do. I don't think he's ready for Lomachenko, but the older Lomachenko gets, he's going to start slowing down. He's not going to be as sharp as he used to be. So waiting until 2020, probably the tail end of 2022, would be the best move for your career. But as a boxing fan, do we really want to wait that long? You know what I mean? It's two things at stake here. You're a boxing fan, or you want to see these fights. You want to see these fights happen when you want to see them. But obviously, boxing's a business, right? So we oftentimes don't get the fights that we want to see. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir at this point. Y'all already know what time it is. And then, of course, he clowned Devin Haney, who's on fire right now. Devin Haney's killing stuff right now. He's actually wants to fight Lomachenko. He wants to fight Lomachenko next. He's called him out a lot. And that's a fight that could be easily made. Obviously, the Tank and Lomachenko fight may be a little bit harder to make, but if both fighters want to make that fight, you know how that goes. They can make the fight if they really want it. But yeah, we're not even really going to get into Devin Haney. I really don't feel like speaking on him because I'm not a big fan of him. He's a little too cocky in my opinion, and he's been beating up a bunch of bums anyway. So, Hitman Boxing, take it however you want to take it. We just warming up. We're just warming up. That's all we're doing. We're going to be back with a couple more videos. I'm out.